Yo, hello! I have been getting a lot of stuff done and getting over bronchitis, so I've had plenty of time to work on crafts. But I thought Fella and I could sit down and give you a couple of pieces of advice on how to get stuff done. This advice might work for whatever it is that you need to get done, but I specifically made it with crafting in mind. Some items that I use that will make sense later on are project bags, a timer, a hat, scrap paper or post-it notes, a pencil, and pins, more scrap paper or a notebook. My first piece of advice that I usually like to start with is start small. This way, even if you don't enjoy the craft, you can still feel good about yourself once you've finished it. Next, make sure you track your progress. Sometimes it's hard to realize how much you've gotten done if you're just looking at your project and you don't know where you started other than just a blank piece of something or just a bunch of pieces of fabric, etc. You know what I mean. Usually when I work on something like knotwork or cross-stitching, I'll take a picture at the end of the day or with each color change depending on the size of the project and on which way it's easiest to work, so that I can see the progress and then see, I like to put together the slideshows. You guys may not enjoy them as much as I do, but I just love seeing how a piece comes to life, and it really helps me feel like, oh yeah, I am being productive. You can see this huge amount of progress that I made today. Make a checklist of the things that you have done and that you need to do on each project, or keep a checklist of projects that you've done. If checklists aren't your thing, you could also journal about them or make a little photo diary, post them on social media. It's up to you. Just keep a way so that you don't get discouraged when you're working on things and you know you're completing things. My next piece of advice is take a break. Sitting down and sewing can be hard on your back, hard on your arms if you're quilting and you're in this position for a really long time. Have a little dance party and just get your body moving, loosen up, and have some fun. If you're getting frustrated, make a note of where you are and what's left to be done so that when you come back, you won't be as frustrated and you can remember, oh yeah, this is where I am. Who knows how long your break will be on this certain project. If you're working with a deadline on a project that you're getting frustrated with, when you take a break, set a timer so you don't forget to come back to it. Speaking of getting distracted, I like to keep either a notebook or scrap paper or something around so that I can jot down little thoughts or questions or little reminders for myself so that I don't get sucked into the world of social media just scrolling while I check something really quick. Yeah, right, like it's gonna be really quick. When you're sewing, or crafting, or whatever it is that you're doing, try to stay organized. Before you start each project, clear off a little bit of a space just to give your brain some breathing room. You don't need to clean your whole sewing room or sewing area or whatever. Just clear off a space enough that you can focus on the task at hand. If you absolutely have to, you can pile stuff up and put it in a box or a project bag. And then you can have more clear thoughts and figure out what it is exactly that you're trying to do. I know for me, if my sewing room is a mess and the area that I'm trying to work on is crowded, I'm less likely to get finished the things that I want to be working on. Labels. Labels are so important for staying organized. I use little post-it notes or scrap pieces of paper. I even cut them in half, write the label on it, and then pin it to something so that I know exactly what it is that I'm working on. For example, all of my sewing projects that I bring home with me don't get to be worked on immediately. But if there's certain pieces for a certain kit or a certain pattern, I write down this is for this, that's for that, this is the binding, that's the backing, this is how much there is. I just leave little labels so that future me will be happy that past me helped me out. Yeah, and it helps really stay organized so then when you do have to put something away and you can't work on it right away, you will know exactly where you are and what needs to be done. So as I mentioned before, project bags will make sense more now that I'm explaining what it is. This is actually an old sheet bag, and then there's other sizes that are also from curtains or pillowcases, whatever. They have these handy little zippers on them, so you can close it up and not have to worry about pieces falling out. They're not airtight due to the zipper, but that's usually fine for me. I used those when I was making a ton of sock donkeys, and I needed to keep each donkey's legs, tail, mouth, ears, hair, number, all kinds of stuff together with it just so that I wouldn't have mismatched pieces. Not that it would matter that much in that situation, but it was just really nice to be able to be organized and see, yes, I have 3 that are ready for just hand stitching, I have 1 that needs to be stuffed, and all that good stuff. It's just very helpful for me visually to be able to organize it in my mind that way. You don't have to go out and buy all kinds of new sheet sets or specific project bags. You can even use baggies from the dollar store, or your local thrift shop might have little bags. Who knows? It doesn't have to be anything specific, just something that will hold the project size that you're working on and will keep you organized. My next piece of advice is prioritize your projects. Projects sometimes have deadlines, and staying ahead is awesome. Make a list of the current projects that you're working on and prioritize them by when they're due. You can give them numbers, letters, colors. It's up to you. Just help your brain figure out a way to stay organized so you don't feel overwhelmed. My next piece of advice is give your UFOs names. Okay, let's be real for a minute. We all have UFOs in our sewing rooms, and I don't mean the ones that are filled with little green men that work on our projects, although that would be kind of nice sometimes. Especially the things you don't like working on, but you need to get done. Unfinished objects can get out of hand if you're constantly really excited to start something and you don't keep track of what you've already done. It's a bit overwhelming sometimes. I like to sort my projects by priority and certain names that I give them. For example, closest to being finished, will feel the best to get out of my hair, or most fun to work on. Sometimes you're just really in the mood to work on something fun. Still can't choose? Write your projects down on pieces of paper and put them inside of a hat and let the hat decide. Shake it up, move it around, draw out your next project. Or if you have a techie husband, you can have him make a program on your computer, type everything in, and then make the computer decide. Be sensible. Set realistic goals, wear comfortable, practical clothing, and don't be too hard on yourself. If you're uncomfortable while sewing, it's not going to happen. You're going to be so distracted by taking care of your top that constantly falls. If you've got long, drapey sleeves, you're going to be constantly trying to get them out of the way. The more comfortable you are when you're sewing, the more you can focus on your sewing. If you're uncomfortable while sewing, chances are you're not going to get as much done as you would like. As far as temperature, I suggest layering. So a short sleeve shirt, maybe a scarf, a cardigan. Find something to help keep you comfortable no matter what the situation is. If you tend to be cold, grab a cardigan. However, just like me, I'm always cold. So I tend to layer up and wear all kinds of long sleeve shirts or cardigans or hoodies or jackets or whatever. But then I get really warm if I'm up working with the iron or working on my sewing machine, or just if there's a weather change during the day. We live in the Midwest. There's every season in a day practically. So that's why I wear a cardigan, because then if I get too warm, I don't have to make a complete wardrobe change. I just take the cardigan off and then I'm much more comfortable. Using cardigans and layering is also great if you're going to a sewing conference of some kind, because there's no good temperature at a sewing conference or a quilting retreat or anything like that. It's either way too hot because they underestimated how many people would be there and how many hot machines and irons and all that kind of stuff, or it's freezing because they've overestimated, or they're just trying to keep everybody from overheating. So definitely layer up if you're going to a retreat or a conference of some kind. My next piece of advice is multitask. I don't mean working on several things at the same time. I do, however, mean using your time wisely. Before you start sewing, load the dishwasher and start it up, or start a load of laundry. That way you're getting stuff done while you're getting stuff done. Some crafters have very strict rules on starting one project and then starting another one after they finish the first project. I don't work well that way. I tend to get frustrated with one project, and then instead of working on a new project that I could possibly get finished ahead of time while working on project number one, I'll just sit on my phone and scroll through social media and get discouraged or go do something else where I could be being productive if I just take a break while working on something else. I tend to bounce around on different moods of what I would like to work on. Some days I really want to work on a quilt. Some days I want to work on piecing a quilt. Sometimes I want to work on some hand sewing, cross-stitching, crocheting, weaving, painting, you name it. I just can't decide some days. So that strategy of working on one project and then finishing it and then starting something new doesn't really work for me, because I don't want to work on something every single day. Some days I have really low energy and I think, oh, I would really like to just sit on the couch and work on a cross stitch and watch this movie that I've seen hundreds of thousands of times. Another way you can multitask is to listen to classical music if you really want to focus on just your sewing, but you need something to turn off the nagging, worrisome thoughts of your brain. Listen to upbeat music if you want to sew faster. You could listen to podcasts about sewing. I haven't found any good ones, but if you've found one, let me know what it is down in the comments section. I'd always love to find a new podcast. You could also listen to audiobooks. Depending on what you're listening to, I would suggest choosing a task that fits it correctly. So like if you're trying to figure out how to scale down a pattern or measurements that are really tricky and you're not very good at math or you don't feel like it's your very strong point and you're like me basically, don't listen to things that are going to distract you from that. Listen to instrumental music or classical music or soundtracks from your favorite movies just to help your brain stay calm. Like I said before, sometimes I'll be working on a large scale cross stitch that doesn't really lend itself to sitting in an uncomfortable chair for a long amount of time. So I'll sit in my recliner and have a big lamp over this way and then work on it while I watch a movie. And it's great, it's relaxing. If you don't have to pay attention to it, the better the experience will be. My last piece of advice is just get started. Set a timer for 15 minutes and just start. If by the end of the 15 minutes you're still not enjoying what you're working on, go ahead and set it aside, find a different task to do that day, or try a different project. This method works great for me when I know I want to be doing something but I can't figure out quite what it is, or if there's a project that I wish I wanted to do. If I'll just set a 15-minute timer, usually by the time it goes off I think, wow, that went fast, I wish I could work more. So I do. Like I said before, these are just some of my ideas for getting stuff done. Let me know in the comment section what your best advice is when someone says they're discouraged and they don't want to work on something. If you'd like to follow my progress on the things that I've been working on, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram. I have those links in the description down below. I tend to post more on there because it doesn't take as much process or planning as a video. So if you're curious and just want to hang out sometimes, leave me a comment on Instagram or Twitter or just say hi. Anyway guys, thanks for hanging out with me today and good luck on sewing.